For this week's tutorial on how to paint pre-heresy Space Wolves, I decided to go back to a sponging technique again here, as it's a very easy way to add a bunch of volumetric highlights to your model, while also giving it a beat up, scratched, and worn appearance that I think is perfect for the heresy setting. For this scheme, I start by doing a pretty heavy sponge base coat of graphene gray over the entire model to give a nice dark bluish gray color to build up off of. Next up, I sponge on Anthracite gray over the entire model pretty heavily as well, to add my first layer of highlights and texture. When sponging like this though, it's extremely important to do two things. The first of which is to get the right sponge, which is one that has these closed cells that are pretty close together and not too much air pockets between them. You'll also want to find a sponge that's not too firm, but also not too soft. It takes a little bit of trial and error to find this Goldilocks sponge, and I actually found my preferred sponge material from a box of AT34 Germans, I think, from a couple of years back, that I've been using ever since. And the second thing is you want to make sure that you wipe off the majority of your paint from your sponge before applying it to the model, as otherwise you'll dab on way too much paint to your model and make it look splotchy, as opposed to getting a finer buildup of these small micro points of paint across the entire model. The rest of the armor then is pretty much continuing this exact same process, just building up lighter and lighter layers of Anthracite gray mixed with Bering blue, and Graphite, again all from scale 75. The trick here is with each subsequent higher pass, you want to get a little bit lighter on your presses of the sponge, as well as focus the dabs only on the parts of the armor you're trying to highlight. Again, we're trying to build up volumetric highlights here, so you want to make sure you're applying the highest most highlights to the top points of the armor to get that nice blend of colors from your darkest shadows up to the highest highs. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. This is probably the fastest scheme I've done so far. It's taken me about 20 minutes to get to this point on the model, and there's no airbrushing required, no brushing required. And the other nice thing about sponge chipping is it does pick up your edges for you, so there's also no edge highlighting required either. Now that the armor is done, I move on to the other major part of the model's armor in the shoulder and armor trim. For this, I decided to do a fairly simple process that I started with a layer of Necro gold over all of the metallic areas, and followed up with successive washes of Seraphim Sepia, Athonian Camoshade, and then Magos purple contrast paint from Games Workshop. As y'all might know, I really like adding colors into my metals. I think they add a little more pop to them and interest to them. And in this case, I just like how purple and green work with darker gold colors. I finished off these areas by doing a very rough overbrush of Necro gold again to bring up some of the luster of the metals that I lost with the matte shades before, and that's really it. The rest of the model is painted using pretty standard techniques that I've shown in other videos and aren't going to bore you with them here. Also, as I've said in previous videos, I'm still in the process of unpacking from my recent move, and it's been quite a challenge to still get videos out with all of my materials in various states of unpackedness. So I apologize this is a bit short, I was running out of time this week, but hopefully you still find it informative. I'm getting to a point that I will have more time to get these videos better and do more and more tutorials of things other than just Space Marines. So if you like what you're seeing here, please make sure you subscribe to get updates on my future videos. As always, thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or just want to send me pictures, you can reach me at either Instagram or my email account listed below in the description. Thanks again, and hobby on.